Hey, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Very well, thanks. Good to speak with you.
It's raining like hell here. Another good old disaster in California.
Yeah, what happened? You had some rain situation?
It's pissing down lakes. They're not very good drivers in the rain here.
Yeah, they're not used to it, I guess, huh?
No, that's right.
Well, I really enjoyed the book. I thought it was hysterically funny, and unflinchingly honest.
I mean, we've all heard how wonderful it is to be a rock and roll star and how many groupies have had sex with and all the rest of it, But there's a human side to it. And also there's a humorous side to it as well. I mean, I figured if you can't laugh at your failings, then it's clear, man. There's a big funny side. For instance, when I saw Spinal Tap, I didn't think it was funny at all. I've lost myself on the way to the stage. It was like a documentary to me.
Was it too close to home?
It's just real, They must have gotten the information from real things that have happened and elaborated on that. But we've all made asses of ourselves. You don't have to be a brilliant fighter to go from a guy who tunes car horns into a world-renowned crazy rock and roll star.
In the book, almost nothing seems glossed over. You discuss your addictions, sex acts, bowel movements, and other embarrassing moments from your life. When you were putting this book together, did you have any super secret material that you said, well, I'm not going to disclose this to the public?
Well, after the book, I thought, what the fuck did I write about this? What did I write about that? So it took me a long time to get ready to do a book because people have been asking me to do one for years. Sharon was going, look, if people want to hear about it, you've got to give it to them, So I just sat down with the Chris guy. It didn't take much time. At the end of the day, I said to him, "Have you got enough stuff?" He said, "I've got more than enough,
Were there certain things where you thought, I'm going to let people into my life, but I'm not going to disclose this because it's too personal?
Well, not really. I mean, there's stuff that I forgot to put in, but not on purpose. But that'll probably go into the next one if I do another one.
Can you talk a little bit about the process of putting together a book like this? You've never done a book before, so how did you gather your thoughts and considering?
Well, I mean, my life has been very interesting. The first time you can't put like 10,000 pages. It's got to be something that people can read, But what I would have liked to have done is, there's two things I've had in mind. I was going to write my life before Sharon, Sharon's life before me, and now together like a trilogy. And then I had an idea of doing a book every 10 years, 0 on in the first 10 years of my life, then from 10 to 20, and 20 to 30, and 30 to 40, and so on. So I tried doing that, but then you have too much book,
Well, the first part of your life reads kind of like Angela's Ashes.
Oh, that's one of my favourite films. It was very. I related, to running after the coal, getting bits of coal. I've done things like that.
Yeah, it sounded very bleak. When you think about what you've gone through to get to where you are, it's just an amazing story.
You know what? You can take the kid out of the street, but you can't take the street out of the kid, My parents kept me going. The daydreaming. Every now and again I'd go, fuck me, I did do well. I mean, when I do a bad show, I get really pissed off. My voice goes out sometimes. If I can't give people the best I could give them, then I beat myself up over it,
You've weathered so many controversies, addictions, and accidents that your life seems crazier than fiction. Ozzy's almost like the Paul Bunyan of rock and roll. Do you see that? Do you see yourself as John Osbourne or as Ozzy?
Well, nobody calls me. My wife Sharon calls me Ozzy. I mean, I try to say that's not my name, but when somebody calls me John, I don't acknowledge it. You call me John, okay, I'm walking, but I mean, I am Ozzy, you know. Ozzy's my name. Elton John's not really Elton John, but you know, I've met Elton John, you know.
So when you think about yourself and your life, you don't separate the character from.
Behind it's like the way I look at it. I live in a very. I mean, the reason why the TV show took off, I still have everyday issues. I'm still a father. I'm still a husband. I'm still a man. You know. So when people think I live in this Bavarian castle and sleep upside down in the fucking rafters and fly around the country all night, you know. I've tried so long to leave Ozzy on the stage and become me, but at the end of the day, I got confused myself, you know.
That's very funny.
But I don't. I'm an entertainer. So people go in England, they go, "Are you sold out doing TV?" And I go, "Well, you know what? Whatever I do, somebody ain't gonna like everything, you know."
Speaking of not liking everything, Black Sabbath was never a critically popular band, and you note in the book that there may have been a class issue between the college kids who were music critics and the working class members of the band. Did you ever crave that critical success?
No, and you know what? I recently spoke to Bill Ward on the phone, you know, and he's the drummer for Sabbath.
Right.
I speak to him all the time, and I said to Bill, you know, I was speaking to him, I said to Bill, you know what? Whatever happened to us, from being on the street kids to somebody that people knew who we are, it was a big step up. Even though we got ripped off by the management, we got taken to the cleaners, our lifestyle changed for the better. And then he said, "Yeah, you're right. I never thought about that. You know, we didn't do rock and roll. Black Sabbath become Oxford Duns. We're street kids that got recognized. You know."
Can you repeat that? Oxford. What was the word?
Done.
What does that mean?
It means an Oxford Dun means student.
Okay.
When we did my first album, I was just happy to hear one track on the radio at 6 in the morning. I got out of bed early to be on the fucking radio, and then my mum and dad giving them the album with me singing on it. You know, I mean that was like great. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember the manager said to me, "Your album is on the charts next week, number 73 or whatever it was." I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a fucking joke. I mean, from rags to riches was the word, you know.
You note in the book that at one point you were sitting at the back of a Rolls-Royce limo and thinking to yourself, 3 years ago you were a puke remover in a slaughterhouse, and before that you were doling out slop to child molesters in Winston Green Prison. Now look where you are.
Yeah, I mean, I've got properties now. I have my own car. If I'm first class, I have people working for me. It's like, you know, sometimes I have to pinch myself and go, is this all real?
Did you ever feel that you were treated fairly in retrospect?
No, I mean, we didn't know any better. Just to get on the fucking aeroplane was something. Although we were sitting in the fucking back of the aeroplane. I mean, we didn't know anything. We were just street kids, you know.
How has the perception of rock and roll behavior changed since you started out? In the 1960s, bad boy rock and roll behavior fed into a kind of anti-hero treatment of rock stars that helped fuel a cultural revolution. And then 20 years later, that same behavior just seemed like a bunch of assholes trashing a hotel room.
It's kind of like, if you want to be a success in rock and roll, do the rock and roll that your parents love to hate. It's like, one thing about rock and roll, which has always helped me a lot, it's kept me young at heart, if you like. I have a great relationship with my son. I have a great relationship with my daughters. I mean, it's not bad with the kids. Everybody gets a fair shake in this house. I mean, the kids say, "Dad, you were fucking out of order," and I go, "Okay, I'm sorry." It's not like, you know, do what I tell you or shut the fuck up, I'm the boss. Rock and roll behaviour, I mean, what other job can you turn up to an absolutely shit-faced and they go, "Oh, he's going to be great. Ozzy's going to be great tonight." I mean, can you imagine a fucking lawyer or a surgeon or or whatever? You gotta be fucking joking.
Right. There was one part in your book where you tossed a TV out the window. It was almost like your rock and roll bucket list of things you want to do before you.
I meant exactly what I said in Prague. I just said, you know what, Zach Wilde, I said to him, I've done every fucking thing in rock and roll. What you can do, what is expected of you, but, I've never done this. He goes, what's that? And I said, throwing a TV out the window, which was, I was drunk out of my face. But, most of the things that you would do if you were stone cold sober, I don't think you would. Well, maybe you would, but I wouldn't do them if I was sober.
Was there any fallout from that? You didn't mention in the book if there was any fallout from the throwing the TV out of the window.
Well, it cost me 35 grand for a new fucking window, which probably cost only 15 grand. I mean, the downsides of urinating all over the Alamo a few years ago. I couldn't play San Antonio for fucking 20 years, I think.
Yeah.
And that cost me gigs, and it cost me, most times, people didn't get to see me for a while. But, I'm alright to go back there now.
That's funny. There's something almost Monty Python-esque about your life. Like when you went for a colonoscopy and the doctor couldn't put you under the drugs because...
I went for a colonoscopy, and the guy puts a syringe full of white stuff in me, and he goes, so how long have you been doing rock and roll? And I'm talking to him, and he's talking to me, and he goes, why aren't you asleep yet? Well, I'm not bragging about it, because you know what? I'm so fucking lucky I woke up every morning.
Oh, I know. I didn't think you were bragging about it, but what I was gonna get to is saying that there's something so uniquely British about your sense of humor. What is it about the British that a guy can't be put under anesthesia and he just calmly sits there tossing out laugh lines? Because if it was an American rock star, I can just picture him freaking out.
I could have gone to sleep and never woken up with my own drugs, I'm amazed that Monty Python never took off in America, because, some of that stuff I go, what the fuck's that all about, But, I love Python. The Life of Brian I played before I go on stage forever. I think that's my thing before I go on stage. I play it all the time.
So many bands that started out at the same time as Sabbath didn't have the same kind of success that you did. What was it about Sabbath's ability that made it break out of the pack? And what would you be doing today if you hadn't had that kind of success?
Well, it's two questions that I can't really answer because I don't know. When I did the Ozfest and young bands would come up to me and go, man, Sabbath were the best thing, they're like my Bible and all that. I listened to all these bands and I'd go, what the fuck's he on about? Oh, and if it wasn't for me being who I am now, I don't know what I'd be. It's a good bet I'd probably be in jail or under the ground,
Ah.
I don't know. It's like saying, if you're on the Titanic, where would you be,
Right. Okay, last question for you. You've come to Boston twice to deal with serious medical issues that you mentioned in the book. Do you have any more positive or any other interesting memories of Boston which you weren't...
Well, Boston's always been a great town of mine. They love my music. I love playing in Boston. It's one of my favourite gigs when I'm on tour to do Boston. They love rock and roll music, It's a great town. And the doctors there are the best. If I ever forget if I was going to slide, just go, they're not mine.
Hey, well, good luck with the book. It's really hysterically funny and very honest, and I really appreciate your time so much.
Oh, God bless you, sir.